Nadu is probably the most talked about legendary creature from Modern Horizons 3, and I think that Nadu will end up on the commander ban list. But there is something as players we can do to stop that. Nadu represents a problem with how powerful card designs clash with EDH. Before I tell you all about that, if you like my videos, consider subscribing and checking out the Patreon. Thanks. So if you haven't heard of Nadu, let's give the card a quick read. Nadu Winged Wisdom is blue-green 1 for a 3/4 bird wizard with flying. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield, otherwise put it in your hand. This ability only triggers twice each turn, and that's twice per creature each turn. On its face, this card protects your board by letting you draw or ramp after someone hits you with spot removal. But let's be honest, nobody is playing this as protection from spot removal. If you target your own things, you can get extra value. How much value though? Imagine you play a 2-drop like a Pedo Alchemist or Seeker of Skybreak. Then play your commander on turn 3. This setup of just your commander and one card is already more value than most decks can keep up with. This is plus 9 cards a turn cycle. You can tap the Alchemist to untap itself, which is a target, and you can do this 2 times on each player's turn, including yours. Then on your third opponent's turn, you can tap the Alchemist to target Nadu after the Alchemist has been untapped 2 times, so plus 9 cards. If you do this, I can't see how you lose the game. It's not a combo, it's not a lock piece, it's just raw value. And if you add any fast mana to the deck for more speed or consistency, this can be done on turn 2, and suddenly you're playing a cedh deck. Nadu has already put up some early results in cedh. This deck is the real deal. And it's not just because of these little tapping creatures. Equipment with a 0 mana equip cost also works, because those are targets. Lightning Greaves and Shuko are some of the best options. And although many non-modern players are not going to rush out to buy a Shuko, especially at these prices, plenty of commander players already have Greaves. And honestly, even Swiftfoot Boots is still pretty strong in Nadu. You can easily just pay the 1 mana to bounce the boots around here and there for value. And since Nadu's putting the lands into play untapped, it's basically free with Swiftfoot Boots. This gets even crazier with any card that makes a token when a land enters play. This allows you to go pseudo-infinite. Every time you hit a land, that gives you 2 more chances at hitting another land, which means you can make another creature and keep going. And if you hit too many non-land cards, well, that's fine. Nadu puts lands into play untapped. You can probably just cast a ramp spell to trigger landfall to keep going even further. This is a non-deterministic, not quite combo that may or may not win the game. In a fully powered up cedh deck, Nadu very easily draws through their entire library and basically wins the game. If you're just playing a casual Nadu deck, it probably means you're going to take a 20-minute turn to draw a ton, ramp a ton, spend a lot of time counting which creature has and hasn't been triggered once or twice, and then you're just going to pass the turn. And even if somebody removes Nadu after you do that, since you ramped out 5 lands or whatever, the Nadu player can just recast their commander, take another 30-minute turn, also not win the game, and just do it again the next turn. This is basically the same reason Paradox Engine got banned. The reasoning listed on the RC's website talks about how the engine was powerful in any deck and did not need to be built around, which is only half true. Many players lamented the long turns exacerbated by Thrasios, which was also printed close to when Paradox Engine got released. Paradox Engine has minimal to no deck building cost to be powerful, but it does have a deck building cost to make the engine into a win. If your deck does not have a critical mass of cantrips, tutors, and a combo finish, the engine won't actually win any game outright. In cedh, Paradox Engine meant the game was over 99% of the time. Like any Storm deck, it could fizzle, but usually you won. In casual play though, Paradox Engine would cause the player to durdle for value a ton and not actually win. After 20 minutes of drawing and untapping things, they would just pass the turn. I think Nadu and Paradox Engine are very similar. They are powerful value engines that, when built around correctly, can be used as finishers. The problem arises when you half build around these cards. You don't have the tutors or efficient card draw to actually convert this into a win, but you heard these cards operate well with other cards you already own or want to play. players see Paradox Engine works well with Mana Rocks and Thrasios, so they put it in their deck without thinking about the goal of the engine. And if they're not trying to win with combos, then the time investment to just drop one big creature after activating Thrasios 3 times and casting a bunch of spells and untapping things seems like a waste of time. And the engine still won the game eventually, just much slower. And the cherry on top to Paradox Engine was most players don't pack enough removal, especially not for artifacts, which means kill on-site threats usually get to stick around a little longer than they should. We can also see this problem with other banned cards, like Hull Breacher. This, plus a wheel in a deck built around Hull Breacher, would usually win the game. But if you had a casual wheel deck, maybe you threw in the new synergy card and nothing else. So your deck would wheel, take everyone's hand away, but then you wouldn't win, because it's just a casual wheel deck with the new card that you cracked from a pack. Your new hand of 7 cards and 21 mana won't chain through your deck for a combo kill like it would in a cedh build. But we do have powerful things in the format which would negatively affect a casual table if you were to play them there, like Oracle Consultation combo. I wouldn't recommend playing this against precons. So why do I think Nadu is going to go the way of Paradox Engine and Breacher, unlike Thassa's Oracle? And the reason is, the powerful thing that Nadu does is easily added to a deck or accessible for casual players. Most players don't have Demonic Consultation lying around. It's kind of a weird old card. Nor does it actually fit into common casual themes. You're not buying Demonic Consultation for your +1/+1 counters deck. And because this combo wins the game outright, people say, oh, that's a cedh thing, I'm not going to play it. While drawing 5 cards and ramping 5 lands by turn 4 doesn't actually win the game, so Nadu must be casual. And we saw this with the other banned cards. Wheels are popular in casual, Hull Breacher. Thrasios was a new commander with a wacky mechanic, and wow, this new artifact fits well with Thrasios. Let me throw it in for value. And we have precedent for this with Leovold, Emissary of Trest. It's very easy to play Leovold, some mana dorks to ramp him out early, and just a bunch of wheels to do the cedh thing. I honestly think that if Gilded Drake was printed today, making it much more affordable, it would be banned, because the card easily slots into Blink decks, which is a popular casual theme, and the Drake is very good at stealing commanders. Plus, if you don't run that much removal, the Drake is going to feel really hard to beat, especially because a Blink deck can blank your spot removal. And before somebody comments about the new Energy Gilded Drake from MH3, I don't think it's nearly as powerful as the original, still decent though. Nadu is the same as Breacher and Engine. Many of the cards that work well in the deck and let you do busted value engine things are cards you might already have, or they're easy to get, meaning many players can crack Nadu from a pack and build most of a cedh deck. They might not have the fast mana to make it as quick, or the free counter magic to back it up, but you can do everything else. So I think Nadu is gonna get banned. Cards that create a ton of value when built around in this way, but don't actually immediately win are considered casual, but they don't actually fit in a casual pod. So what's the solution? Well, 99.99% of the player base cannot affect the ban list. So what can we do? For starters, we can normalize crushing these value decks. Personally, I've run into a lot of situations where someone has a really strong commander, and then their commander becomes a removal magnet. But then the complaints begin to roll in. The person with the busted commander will say, oh, come on, my commander cost 8 mana already. Don't remove it. Hey, don't target me, don't attack me. I'm just a little goblin. But that often works. I've seen people take back removal and counters just to let that player resolve their commander finally. And then guess what? The powerful commander does something crazy and powerful, and then they win the game. The solution is show no mercy. If someone's playing Nadu, you do not need to feel bad about blasting that bird away. I've had a lot of situations where players feel apologetic about removal. I remember one time I was casting a Kozilek, and this dude was so apologetic and sorry for casting a counterspell. And I was like, dude, no worries, I get it, Kozilek is scary. I appreciate players wanting to make sure your opponents are also having fun. This is a card game, we should all be having some level of fun. But you don't need to feel bad about removal. It's a core part of the game. Since Alpha, removing cards has been a normal thing. It's a natural part of the back and forth of any game of Magic. Another part of the game is that big value piles that have no board presence, usually early game, will get attacked and knocked out. The classic aggroing out a slow grindy deck dynamic. It's only in the multiplayer casual format where people choose not to attack the slow grindy decks. They see somebody with no creatures and choose not to attack because, they haven't had a chance to pop off. Problem is, if Nadu gets the one chance to pop off, even if they don't actually win, after that 30-minute turn where they drew 10 cards and put 10 lands into play, your deck is not going to get a chance to pop off or do anything for the rest of the game. Although you haven't actually lost, you lost. At any given pod, your deck will probably not be the strongest deck in the late game, unless you're the Simic value pile. So you need to focus down the decks that are strongest in the late game by removing their value engines and straight up attacking them. If they're going to spend the early turns doing nothing but drawing cards and ramping, punish them by hitting their life total. And when I mean focus until they're out of the game, not chip in for 16 and call it a day. Even if they're at 1 life, they can still combo off. This also only works if you play a reasonable amount of removal. A lot of players will pack very little removal and instead rely on the power of their synergies to hopefully outvalue the other player's decks. But you're not going to outvalue Nadu. It just won't happen. I think if players played more removal and worked together to take out the Simic value decks, EDH could police itself, such that Nadu is a fine card. And maybe people will be responsible and avoid playing these strong commanders with CEDH level synergies in their decks at lower power casual tables. But considering the track record, I'm not hopeful. So what do you think of Nadu? Do you think the ban hammer is around the corner, or am I way off base? Also, if you're wondering whether or not I think Nadu will get banned in Modern, nah. I'm pretty sure Ruby Storm is just the better combo deck, and that's probably more likely to get hit with any ban if something would happen. Let me know your thoughts about Nadu in the comments below. Thank you so very much for watching, and special thanks to my tier 3 patrons whose names you see here. If you want to be in the credits and support the channel, check out the Patreon link in the description.